Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, listening in this morning. Or I guess this afternoon now. Day's flying by for me, but great to be back. A lot to get into, and very excited for that. On a chilly Monday, very chilly. There's been some snowflakes here throughout western Pennsylvania, so that's incredible, I guess. But yeah, a lot to get into. Obviously, that Steeler game last night. Gonna really discuss that, everything that went wrong in that game after an encouraging Colts victory. And I don't know if you've heard, but College Game Day is coming to Pittsburgh this weekend. Notre Dame versus Pitt, and I'm gonna have a big full breakdown of that game. The keys for Pitt, what Notre Dame needs to do to keep their playoff hopes alive. Really break that game down. I'm not going to dive too much into NFL because I didn't get to watch much yesterday. I was doing a bunch. I only really got to see the Steeler game. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some NFL, talk about college and whatnot. But we got a lot to get into. Brian Daboll, the head coach of the New York Football Giants, fired after another game where they lead by a lot with not much time left and they somehow lose. So just a lot to get into here on the Sports Scoop on a Monday. So let's start right out with your Pittsburgh Steelers. A hapless performance last night, Sunday Night Football, against the Los Angeles Chargers, who were without half of their offensive line from going into this season, and two of the better O-linemen, certainly Rashawn Slater, one of the best in football, but also Joe Alt, who the Chargers were very high on, who's played pretty well this season. He is out for the season now. He didn't play, obviously, last night. Chargers bring in Trevor Penning, another O-lineman, to try to supplement that. And, I mean, you're thinking going into the game, Steelers' pass rush is gonna cook, and they're going to be feisty all night and make life miserable for Justin Herbert. And while that was the case at some points, the Chargers, as the game wore on, were able to do more and more. And a lot of that, I think, came from all the possessions that they got from the Steelers' offense, turning it over or just having a 3-and-outs. I mean, they had a bunch of 3-and-outs, the Steelers did. And that defense, I think, over time just wore down. And the Ladd McConkey play where I think that was Brandon Echols is in perfect position to at least bat the ball down for an incompletion on, I think it was third down. Instead, it goes through his hands, and McConkey catches it and runs all the way into the red zone for the Chargers. I think it was like 58 yards, 58-yard play, and that kind of sealed the game. But it was, I mean, the Steelers just could not do anything offensively. Calvin Austin had a poor game. Roman Wilson didn't do much of anything until the very end of the game. Steelers lose by 2 scores. And I don't pin this very much on the defense, although I think they could have played better at times. But they were on the field a lot. The Steelers had a bunch of 3-and-outs, like I mentioned. Aaron Rodgers just had a bad game, a really, really bad game. He just did not have it. There were open throws. There were receivers and tight ends open. He missed Jonnu Smith, obviously, that big second down in the game. It would have been a first down and could have put the Steelers into the end zone for a touchdown. Instead, the Steelers have to kick a field goal, and Boswell's a rare miss. The interception, what are you going to do? The first one, but the second one, it was right to Calvin Austin, right off his hands. Just it was thrown a little hard, but got to make that catch. And it was just a terrible performance from the Steelers offense. Jaylen Warren had a good game when they got him the ball in space. He's just tremendous. But, I mean, he has a huge drive, and they get into the red zone, and they have to go for him fourth down because they don't get much of anything in the previous 3 plays. You got to go for it because it was a 2-score game. If you kick the field goal, it's still a 2-score game. So you got to get it to a 1-score game with a touchdown. And Rodgers just throws to Metcalf, just throws it up to him. It was a bad throw. It was double coverage, but he was going to Metcalf no matter what on that play. And like I said, it wasn't a back shoulder. It needed to be a back shoulder because you had that safety help on the outs or on the inside. So, but he throws it inside, and DK Metcalf's unable to get it, and it's a turnover on downs. And there's a muff punt in there. There's, like I said, 2 interceptions, missed field goals, turnover on downs. Just a really, really bad performance from this offense. This team as a whole just cannot click for one game. It's kind of crazy. And now they're sitting 5-4. The Ravens beat the Vikings pretty handily on Sunday, and so there's a 1-game difference now. And I'm more convinced than ever that the that the Ravens will overtake the Steelers in the division. Steelers play the Bengals at home, so you figure they win that game after losing them earlier. But who knows with this team? They just can't sustain good performances. It's just not a football team that can be trusted. The only thing it can be trusted to do, it seems, is to go 10-7 or 9-8 and fall out of the playoffs in the first round without winning a game. So it's gonna dire times here. That's one of the worst performances you'll see from a team, particularly offensively. And obviously the safety by Rodgers as well early, I think that gave the Chargers confidence. And Rodgers was running around. He looked pretty good, but he was running right into Tui Tuipulopa and Khalil Mack, these Chargers defenders, and just made it impossible for the Steelers to do anything of note. It was just not a good performance all around. And sitting at 5-4 with a lot of tough games remaining, a lot of people were picking the Steelers to win this game because Chargers, right, they got no O-line. It's a glorified home game for the Steelers because, I mean, you could just watch the game. You know that Steeler fans in general travel well, and in this particular game against a franchise in the Chargers that's still trying to establish itself in Los Angeles. I mean, the Rams are too, trying to establish themselves. You knew it was going to be majority Steeler fans, and it certainly was, but the Chargers fans over there made their presence known. It wasn't a true home game for sure, but it doesn't matter. The Steelers just had a terrible performance. Everything went wrong for the Steelers. Everything kind of went right for the Chargers, especially after that first quarter. Getting these turnovers. It was kind of a reverse of last week's Colts game where everything went against the Colts and went in favor of the Steelers. Everything went against the Steelers and went in favor of the Chargers in this matchup. So just not a good performance from the Steelers overall. And Boswell missing a field goal. I mean, when he misses a field goal, you know you're in trouble, the Steelers, because Boswell does not miss field goals. So if he's not on, it's going to be tough. So yeah, I mean that's where we sit here with the Steelers. I don't really know if there's much to add. I mean, it was just one of the worst performances of Aaron Rodgers' career, like honestly. And I mean, bar none. I think there was a stats. He was like third worst, and something. I think it was completion percentage, yardage. It was like second worst, and something else. It was like the worst of his career. So it was just a really poor all around performance for the Steelers. So like I mentioned, they play the Bengals at home next week. Maybe you get a win, but is it going to be different when you play the Bears, when you play the Bills, Ravens, Lions, at Cleveland, Ravens again? I mean, it's just there's a lot of games that are very losable for this team, and you're looking 9-8 or worse. You're staring straight at that. So, I mean, we'll have to see here, but not a good performance for the Steelers. Once you start to feel good about the Steelers, they pull a game like that or something of that nature. So, not too much to add to Steelers. I'm just going to quickly go through some NFL. Broncos beat the Raiders in a terrible game. I picked the Raiders to upset, and I was looking pretty good for a while, and there were so many chances for the Raiders, and they just couldn't convert. Same with the Broncos. There's a lot of chances for them. They couldn't convert. Colts beat the Falcons in overtime. Colts, I mean, this is 2 straight weeks of kind of subpar performance, but they get the win there. Jets beat the Browns with 2 defensive scores. And Justin Fields not doing much of anything. 6 of 11 for 54 yards for Justin Fields. So he did throw a touchdown pass, so there you go. But not very good performance from either team. But the Jets somehow win that game. How about the Houston Texans? How about the Jacksonville Jaguars here? Jaguars at one point, let me see, they were up 29-10 with a minute and a half left in the third quarter. And then they give up 65-yard drive, 51-yard drive, and a 93-yard drive, all without doing a thing. And they end up losing 36-29. And of course, I picked the Jaguars. The Texans had way more yards. 200 more yards than the Jaguars. I didn't get to watch this game at all, but I saw that it was unfolding in favor of the Texans big time. And, you got to give credit. Davis Mills, 292 yards passing, couple touchdowns, outplayed Trevor Lawrence. And that's very surprising. But the Texans' defense is good, and that's a huge win for the Texans. Yeah, they sit 4-5. You play the Titans next. There's a lot of tough games, but you play the Raiders at home. You play the Cardinals at home. You're against the Colts at home is a big opportunity. You play the Colts twice still. I don't think the division's in reach, but just these games where you could try to get back in it from a wild card perspective. You play at the Chiefs, is going to be at the Chargers, is tough. Bills, there's a lot of tough games for Houston, but this was a huge win for the Texans. Bills lose to the Dolphins 30-13. That's a shocking result, no doubt. Josh Allen just not great. It was just weird. Tua wasn't very good either. He was good early, but they kind of sat back. Tua didn't really have to do too much. It was just a blowout for the Dolphins, a really shocking performance for them. Bills have just been really weird this year. Really weird. Patriots, what a win at Tampa. Tampa had a bye week, and the Patriots still go on the road and get the job done. Very nice job. Patriots are good, folks. They're very good. Drake May made some big throws. I did see a lot of this game, actually. Drake May made some big throws. And that offense, Travion Henderson had a really big performance. His best performance as a New England Patriot. So, big win for the Patriots. And how about Brian Daboll? He's fired. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. But the Giants, I assume if the Giants hold on in this game, they lose 24-20 to the Bears, but they are up 20-10 with 4 minutes left. And the Bears get a touchdown, it's 20-17. And then they get another touchdown, and it's 24-20. Just inexcusable from the Giants, and I think a big reason why Brian Daboll is fired. You can't be having these performances in these fourth quarters when you have a lead. I mean, they could easily be a 5-5 team, instead they're 2-8. So, Ravens, very good win against the Vikings on the road. Forced J.J. McCarthy to make bad mistakes. Ravens didn't have the greatest game offensively, but they made the Vikings turn the ball over, and they were able to get the job done. Ravens 1 game back of the Steelers now. Saints beat the Panthers. The Panthers had a chance here to get to 6-4, and the Saints, go in there and give up only 7 points. Bryce Young is just not very good. You're thinking he was turning a corner there for a little bit. You're thinking if you're a Panthers fan, there's some hope here. But, every game he's throwing for 110 yards passing. It's kind of ridiculous. And, Tyler Shook, not bad at all. 19-27 for 282 and 2 touchdowns. So, very encouraging performance from him and from the Saints here. They get a win. They've played better than 2-8, but they get the win there. Seahawks blow out the Cardinals 44-22. Wasn't particularly close for a while. Didn't end close at all either. Seahawks turned it over 3 times, but that didn't matter. But that is something to keep an eye on. Can't be turning the ball over like that. But Seahawks, one of the better teams in my mid-season top 10 on our We Are Family Pittsburgh Sports podcast. I had the Seahawks as number 1. They're very good, folks. Lions beat up on the Commanders. Not much to say here. Marcus Mariota playing. He was okay, but Lions, 546 total yards. Wow, that's terrible defensively. This Washington defense has been one of the worst this season. It really has. Has not helped this team out at all, especially with Jaden Daniels' injuries. And the Rams beat up on the 49ers. Rams look like a really, really good team as well. Matt Stafford keeps ho-hum, 24-36, 280, and 4 touchdowns. Rams don't turn the ball over. 49ers turn it over twice. They had similar yardage, but that's kind of the difference in that game. Rams capitalizing. They get the job done. And am I missing one? Thought I was going to go back to... No, I think that's all. And then tonight... Oh, I'm missing the Monday night. Tonight, Eagles-Packers should be a fun game. I think the Eagles win this game. I have a feeling the Eagles are going to win this game. Even though it screams Packers getting back on track here. I think the Eagles are the better team. And I think they win. I think they're rested. They had their bye week. I feel good about the Eagles getting that win. So that's some NFL scores for you. And I'm going to be taking a break here. Coming up on the other side of this break, I'm going to talk about College Game Day, Notre Dame versus Pitt, storylines for that game to look forward to. Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Thank you everyone for listening in as always. Still a lot to get to in this show here, the Sports Scoop. Number 10, Notre Dame. Number 24, Pitt. This weekend, noon Eastern Time, ABC from Acrisure Stadium. The biggest Notre Dame-Pitt game in about, 15, 17 years. Both teams ranked. I know Pitt's 23 and Notre Dame's 9 in the AP, but I mentioned the college football playoff top 25. That's going to be out tomorrow. I'm going to preview that a little bit later too, what I think is going to happen there. But both these teams are going to move up. I think Notre Dame will probably be at 9, move up ahead of BYU, and then Pitt will move up at least a couple spots with Washington losing, Iowa losing, Virginia, Louisville, Missouri. So a lot of stuff happened in front of Pitt where if they take care of business, it's not even taking care of it. These are really tough games. But if you win these games, you could be in a really good position. So, yeah, this is a huge game, especially for Notre Dame. If Notre Dame loses this game, they are eliminated from the college football playoff. There's just really no way they make it with 3 losses because they don't have many good wins. I mean, the win at home against USC is pretty good. But other than that, there's really nothing, honestly. I mean, your 2 losses are really good losses to pretty good teams, especially Texas A&M. But, I mean, the committee's not going to be impressed beating Purdue by 26, beating Arkansas by 43, beating Boise by 21, and NC State by 29, and then Navy by 39. You got to be 10-2 for Notre Dame. And if they're 10-2, they're going to be in for sure. I mean, they're already ranked, 9 or 10 going into this Pitt game. So they need to win out, no doubt. And if they beat Pitt, they play Syracuse at home, and then they're at Stanford. So they'd be well on their way to doing so. But it's still a very important game for Pitt. Obviously, Notre Dame's a quote-unquote rival. Notre Dame's won a lot of the games recently. But Pitt, I mean, under Narduzzi, they haven't won against Notre Dame, but Pitt, they're the 2000s. They had won a couple games against Notre Dame, or a handful, I should say. And it was a good rivalry, but Pitt has not come to play against Notre Dame recently. Obviously, we remember with Joey Ellen in 2020, they got destroyed by Notre Dame. In 2023 in South Bend, Christian Veillere, I mean, they just got completely destroyed by Notre Dame. But there have been some close games. The one game in 2018 when they're at Notre Dame, they lost very close in South Bend. They could have honestly won that game. But that was an encouraging sign for Pitt that they had a team that season. And I think this is going to be a close game regardless of who wins. I think Pitt is playing very well, but they haven't faced a team like Notre Dame at all in this stretch. They've won a bunch of games, 5 in a row, but the best win is at Florida State, and Florida State's probably going to fire their coach pretty soon. So this is definitely the toughest test for Pitt, really this season. Definitely this season. Even the losses, those were games Pitt was favored in, or with Louisville they were an underdog, but they should have honestly won both of those. But Notre Dame's certainly the hardest game of the season for Pitt, and it's gonna be a vibe. There's gonna be a lot of people there. A lot of Notre Dame fans are gonna be there, and it's an interesting matchup. It's good on good in this game. Notre Dame's elite running backs and run game versus Pitt's elite run-stopping defense. I think Pitt's second or third in the country in rush yards against, yards per rush. They've been tremendous now. Like I said, the competition, they haven't played really anybody of substance, especially like with running backs that has a really good running game. They did play pretty well against Florida State's running game, but they've been hurt so much all year. You don't know what to make of that. So, but you could say the same honestly about Notre Dame. I mean, their 2 toughest games they ran okay. I mean, against Miami, their first game they didn't run well at all. Against Texas A&M, they ran okay. They were okay running the ball, but now that they've hit the softer part of their schedule, they've been able to really run the ball. And against Texas A&M, 39 carries for 136. That's 3.5 yards a carry. If Pitt limits Notre Dame to 3.5 yards a carry, they're going to be pretty successful. But Notre Dame's faced some teams that are not the greatest at all defensively, and they've taken care of business. But it's going to be a very compelling matchup. I'm really excited to see that, and I'm hopeful that all of Pitt's linebackers are healthy, that defensive front is healthy, because this would be a really fun matchup, good on good, full strength for both teams, at offensively running the ball and defensively trying to stop the run. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Pitt's pass rush, what they do there. I mean, it's a Narduzzi defense, so they're going to rush the quarterback. They're going to blitz. But how often do they stay back in run stopping and run defense as opposed to rushing the quarterback? If Pitt's able to have success in both areas, they're going to have a great chance to win. As for Pitt's offense against Notre Dame's defense, Notre Dame's given up not very many points, 169 points in 9 games. That's pretty good. And Pitt's defense has been pretty good as well. They've just been hurt, so the expectations have been lowered, and they've gotten to the quarterback. I think last week against Stanford they had a really good defensive performance, getting turnovers and all of that, but they just were so injured or so hampered, and there was just so many unlucky plays in that game. I mean, I've detailed last week the missed interceptions, the caroms in the air that go right to Stanford players for a touchdown. I mean, really, Stanford should have scored like 7 or so points in that game. Pitt had a really good defensive effort. And they're going to need to get Rasheem Biles back, who's been incredible this season. When he's been healthy, he's just been out for a good chunk recently. But if he's back, he's a difference maker. Kyle Lewis came back against Stanford, and he was certainly a difference maker. in that game. Jaden Moore, who was on a limited snap count, his first game of the season against Stanford, he made an instant impact. He only played a dozen or so snaps, but he made instant impact in that game. Jimmy Scott had an impact. Everybody's going to need to play at their best in this game for Pitt if they want to pull off what would be an upset, because Notre Dame is an uber-talented team with everything on the line. That recruits well, that has a really good head coach. So it's going to be very interesting. And the big key is Mason Heinschel. Mason Heinschel against a very, very formidable opponent, the toughest that he will have faced to this point of the season. Is he up to the task? I think he certainly is. But it's going to be harder, and he cannot have those mistakes that he has had. Late game against Stanford, 3 turnovers late there. I think 4 in all. Cannot turn the ball over against Notre Dame. Pitt has to win the turnover battle, or at least have it even, and get a lot of defensive stops. But you got to get some turnovers for sure in this spot. But honestly, I think it is a winnable game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think for Pitt to win, it's going to have to be a higher-scoring game. I think Des Reed has to be as healthy as he's been all season. Hopefully he's been able to rest and kind of recover for this matchup, because he's going to be needed in the run game and in the pass game. Ja'Karian Turner's going to have one of his best, if not his best game to this point this season. And, a lot of things are going to have to go Pitt's way, I think, to win this game. But I think it's a winnable game, honestly. I just have a feeling Pitt off a bye, Notre Dame playing Navy on Saturday, which, they won by 39. But Navy wears you out a little bit. They punch you in the mouth. Just every play, they're running the ball at you. And we'll see if that had any impact on Notre Dame and their physicality for this game. A big key as well is going to be Pitt's ability to protect Mason Heinschel. This Notre Dame front isn't as good as it's been in the past, but it's still very talented. It's still pretty good. So Pitt is going to need to have its best O-line effort in the run game and in the pass game to have a chance and to try and win this game. We know this O-line, it has a lot of faults. It's just there's a lot of limitations, and a lot of that's been that left tackle, left guard spot. There's been a lot of injuries. But there's also just been poor performance from this O-line at times. And so really hoping that Jeff Percy is back and healthy for this game Saturday. Not sure what his status actually is, but it would be really important for him to come back, because Kendall Stanley has been, when he's been good, he's been very good, but he's been really, really bad at times. And we're going third. He got hurt in the Stanford game, Kendall Stanley, and you're going third string at left tackle, which is a huge issue. So really in every facet, Pitt's going to have to be at their best. Narduzzi, he commented today about this game, if it's a must-win, and he says, no, it's not a must-win. This is a non-conference game. Everything is still in front of us. I'm paraphrasing. Everything's still in front of us. If we were to lose this game, we could lose this game by 100 and we'd still be okay. I really just don't like that message at all from Narduzzi. Every game should be, the mindset should be every game's a must-win. We got to play at our best every game to win. And I just don't like that mindset. If you win against Notre Dame, you end their season for all intents and purposes. You don't allow them to go to the college football playoff. Well, you get a huge statement win that gives you immense confidence going into 2 of the biggest Pitt games in a decade. Honestly, Pitt at Georgia Tech and Pitt versus Miami. And I just don't like that mindset from Narduzzi and him saying that every game should be looked at from the coaches and the players as a must-win. You're playing games to win. So I really, really don't like that mindset. Maybe he's just trying to undersell the game so the players aren't, pressing in this game, or aren't getting all nervous and anxious and everything, and play differently than they've been playing. But I don't like that comment from from Narduzzi there, because it kind of makes light of this game, which is a big game, even though it's not bigger than Pitt at Georgia Tech and Pitt versus Miami, but it's still a huge game for Pitt and certainly for Notre Dame in their confidence and their ability to win these games going forward. So didn't particularly like those comments, but I'm very excited. I'm going to try to get to game. I won't be able to get to the game on Saturday, but I'm going to try to get to. I'd like to go to College Game Day and kind of be there and take that all in, because that's a once in a while, a very long while occurrence for College Game Day to go to Pitt. But hopefully going forward, it's more of a regular occurrence because Pitt is in the national spotlight and playing well. So very, very excited for this game. And Mason Einschel has to have a great game, limit turnovers. Des Reed has to be a factor in the run game and the pass game. Kenny Johnson has to have a big game. Hopefully he's healthy. Poppy Williams has to have a big game. Somebody's got to step up for sure. And this defense, they have to get a pass rush, and consistently they have to stop the run as well as they can. It's going to be tough, but and their secondary has to play manageable. They have to play solid, because this isn't the greatest secondary, but if they can be solid, if not spectacular, they're going to give this team a chance to win. So that is the Pitt preview for this huge game against Notre Dame. Coming up on the other side of this break, I'm going to get into some other college football games from this past weekend and talk about the CFP Top 25 and what I think it could look like tomorrow night. Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM. And welcome back to the Sports Scoop and Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM, Point Park's radio station. Again, thank you all for listening in here. Packed show, still got a bunch to get to, primarily with college football here. And I'm going to talk about Brian Daboll just real quick to close the show, but some very interesting games, some ACC anarchy, some top teams taking care of business, some other teams not. Indiana, we're going to start with them. A very big win at Penn State in a game that they were outplayed for a lot of parts of it. It looked like they were going to actually lose this game. I mean, Penn State had that 24-20 lead, and Indiana had to have a drive to get a touchdown, a long drive, because they were pinned back in their own end. And their previous possessions, it was punts, it was interceptions, it was more punting. It was just not ideal for Indiana, and you're thinking, wow, this could be a big upset, a huge win for Penn State to salvage a little this season for them. And it was just kind of a gut-wrenching loss for the Nittany Lions. Fernando Mendoza, he was not very good all game, but that last drive, he was surgical. And obviously the touchdown at the end, Cooper making that catch, I think it was Amar Cooper making that catch in the back of the end zone. Yeah, Mark Cooper, which it was just a tremendous catch, but a better ability to control your body and get that one foot down in bounds. I mean, just incredible by him. And what a win for Indiana. You could have very well lost this game, and you fall a little further in the rankings, as well as in the Big Ten. I mean, Michigan still only has one conference loss. I think USC only has one conference loss. Oregon could have kicked you out of the Big Ten championship game. But Indiana takes care of business, and they are able to survive and advance in that regard. Just a tough result for Penn State, as they fall to 3-6. They've lost 6 in a row. They haven't won a game since September, and bowl eligibility is going to be a huge question. I mean, they got 3 very winnable games left, but who's to say they're going to win these? I mean, they're losing every one of these games, it feels like, other than the Ohio State one. Just very close. One possession, could have went either way, but it goes against you. And so tough there for Penn State, but Indiana gets the win. Just want to mention West Virginia. They defeated Colorado 29-22 on Saturday. West Virginia has a modest 2-game winning streak now. They're now 4-6. I think they have their last two games are at Arizona State and at home against Texas Tech. Those are going to be really tough to win for WVU, but nonetheless a good win for West Virginia here. Get a winning streak here, a couple games, good for them. Oregon, Iowa. This was a very compelling game. Oregon, you were thinking if they were going to win, they were going to have to, play Iowa's game better than Iowa does, and they were able to in this game. They rushed for a bunch of yards. They made the plays when they needed to. Obviously, getting the safety. That safety was technically the difference in the game. I mean, because Oregon wins 18-16. But Oregon gets that touchdown. They take a 1-point lead, and they have the 2-point conversion, or they thought, but he was out of bounds. So instead of a 3-point lead, they're only up by 1. And that gives Oregon a chance to go down the field and try and kick a field goal. And Oregon's able to do that. And they're able to get the victory, a big victory for them. But for Iowa, it's probably going to knock them out of the rankings, even though they played very tough against a top 10 team. Elsewhere, Ohio State handled Purdue. A very good win by A&M by 21 against Missouri on the road. They made Missouri's quarterback look very bad, and A&M's very good. They're just a very good team. And so they win again. Alabama defeats LSU 20-9, a kind of sleeper game that LSU was always like within one possession, but they just could not do anything offensively. And that proved to be the difference in the game. LSU kind of on a free fall. Georgia handles Mississippi State. Initially they're down 7-0. And then at one point it was 38-7 or 31-7. They just took care of business. Ole Miss played the Citadel this weekend, the weird SEC November game against an FCS team. They won 49-0. How about Texas Tech? I mean, this should have been a blowout. They win 29-7 over BYU. And, I mean, BYU 3 turnovers. They needed some turnovers to win the game. Instead, they turned the ball over 3 times, and Texas Tech did not turn it over at all. And they just couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get the running game going. And they just got destroyed by Texas Tech. And if Texas Tech would have converted in the red zone a little bit better, they would have won by more for sure. But very good win for Texas Tech. They are the class of the Big 12. I think Utah's the second best team, even though BYU beat them. I just think if it was played again, Utah would win. And but not taking anything away from BYU, it's been a great season for them. But I just don't think they are that caliber team like a Texas Tech or like a college football playoff contending team. Mentioned earlier, Notre Dame 49, Navy 10. Dominating effort by the Irish, Fighting Irish. 500 total yards of offense. And just really did a very nice job in this game. And like I mentioned, they have a pretty big game this week against Pitt. Yeah, let's get to the ACC games here. Wake Forest 16, Virginia 9. Virginia loses at home to Wake Forest. Chandler Morris, a starter, went out in the first half, and they could not do anything offensively against Wake Forest. Wake Forest held on. Virginia was close to the end zone, but could not punch it in. And a big win for Wake. I think they're bowl eligible now, which is huge for them. No, I don't think anybody had them as a bowl eligible team this season, but their defense has been pretty solid. Overall good performance from them. And they get the win. And Cal goes across the country to Louisville and wins 29-26 in overtime. I mean, they were the better team for large portions of this game, but Louisville's kind of hanging around. They tie the game, and you're thinking, okay, well, Louisville's going to get a touchdown and win the game. But instead, they don't. They have 3 and outs, but Cal has 3 and outs. It goes to overtime, and there's a big penalty against Louisville. There's a sack, and Cal is able to force only a field goal in overtime, and then Cal gets down into I think it was the 3-yard line, but it was 4th and goal, and it's either you win or you lose right there in that play, and it was a very ingenious play call, kind of like the Poppy Williams play against Stanford. You fake like you're going out to the end zone, you go back in, and then you go back out again. I didn't describe that very well, but hopefully you can envision what that looked like, and Cal ran it to perfection, and they get the touchdown, and a huge win for Cal. They're also bowl eligible this season. They're not a very good team, but I don't know how they won this game, but they did, and so kudos to them for getting that win. They're bowl eligible. Now Louisville, 7-2 now, and you play Clemson, you play at SMU, which are not the easiest conference games for Louisville. So it's looking like it's unlikely they're going to make it to the ACC Championship, which helps Pitt out. If they can take care of business, they'll be in. So anarchy in the ACC. Vanderbilt, what a game there. They hold on against Auburn in overtime. Back and forth. Auburn had a pretty big lead. Vanderbilt storms back. It goes to overtime. Vanderbilt is able to get the win. Good for them to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. They have a big game at Tennessee in a couple weeks. That will, if they win that game and they're 10-2, they're in the college football playoffs. So good win for Vandy. Love to see that. Miami takes care of Syracuse, bouncing back a little bit. And how about Washington? Washington losing at Wisconsin in the snow, in cold temperatures. Just a crazy result. The punter for Washington led them in passing yards, but they still were able to get the job done. No turnovers to Washington's 2 turnovers, and they were able to eke out a win there, which is crazy. It's crazy, but yeah, so that's a really bad loss for Washington. They're out of the playoff conversation. They're going to be unranked. So elsewhere, SMU with a big win at Boston College. SMU trying to get back here into the ACC championship game conversation. Let's see here. James Madison with a big win. They're ranked in the AP poll now, and they're one of the teams that is kind of in that mix to be the group of 5 representative in the college football playoff. UConn beats Duke. What a win for UConn. For Duke, they're 5-4, but they only have 1 ACC loss. So they could, they play Virginia at home on Saturday. They're at UNC. They host Wake. Those are all winnable games for Duke. And if they win those, they're maybe in the ACC championship, which is crazy to think about, honestly. But UConn gets the win. Good for Jim Mora. Good for UConn. Arizona beats Kansas. Iowa State beats TCU. UNC with a 2-game winning streak. They beat Stanford at home. They're 4-5 now. Hey, look out. I don't think they're going to make a bowl, but yeah, that's encouraging for them at least a little bit. Clemson beats Florida State on the ACC network. Might as well have been the Cartoon Network. With how these teams' seasons have gone, it was a disaster for both these teams' seasons. Florida State outgains Clemson, but they lose the game by 2 scores, and a lot of people are waiting to see if Mike Norvell would be fired. He wasn't fired. I think they're going to wait till the end of the season to make a decision, but I think it's very, very likely that he will be fired. So Florida State 4-5 and Clemson 4-5, and looking like both teams are going to have a hard time reaching a bowl game. Kentucky dominates Florida. Florida's kind of packed it in. They had a bunch of injuries. Nebraska beats UCLA on the road. Good win with their backup in. And how about Sam Houston? Sam Houston gets their first win of the season. And they were thoroughly dominated in this game from a yardage perspective. 474 to 157. But they get a couple turnovers. I mean, Oregon State, Oregon State had 3 turnovers, but 2 of them late when they were just about to get it into the end zone for a touchdown. That's just a really, really bad performance from Oregon State. That's an inexcusable loss. But those are some of the games from this week. Tulane, I got to mention Tulane beating Memphis 38-32. Big win for Tulane. And a bad loss for Memphis. They're basically done now in terms of college football playoff. You can't lose that game. So, want to talk about the college football playoff because the first rankings were released last Tuesday. There's going to be a new ranking tomorrow night, Tuesday night. And the AP poll was out this week, yesterday. And some of the changes, Ole Miss went up to 6, Oregon down a spot to 7, Texas Tech up a spot to 8, Notre Dame to 9, Texas to 10. BYU falls 4 spots to 12, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Utah, Miami all up 2 spots. USC and Michigan up 3 spots. Pitt moves into the rankings. JMU moves into the rankings. South Florida does as well. So not much there. Not too much change there in terms of at the top. But it will be interesting to see, these rankings here. So Louisville's going to fall pretty far. Virginia's going to fall pretty far. Iowa's going to fall out, you'd expect. Washington's going to fall out. And Missouri is going to fall out of the top 25. So that's 5 that are either going to fall out of the top 25 or fall way down. And if you're from a Pitt perspective, you're wondering how far they're going to move up. They're going to move in front of at least 3 teams. So I'm thinking at least they're going to be at 21. Would they put Pitt ahead of Virginia? I think I would, even though Virginia beat Louisville and Pitt lost to Louisville. I mean, just look at how they're playing, the teams they're playing right now. Louisville 2 losses, Pitt 2 losses. Louisville beat Pitt, but that was before the quarterback change. And Louisville just had a bad loss, and Pitt's on a 5-game winning streak. So they could even move up as high as 19, I think. I think they'll probably be like 20, 21, Pitt will be, but it'll be interesting. As for Notre Dame, they'll probably move up to 9. BYU will fall down probably 4, 5, 6 spots. Miami will keep moving up. Georgia Tech will as well. But not too much change until we get here. Texas, Georgia is a big game this weekend. People are saying GameDay should have went there. I wouldn't have had an issue with that because that's technically a bigger game than Pitt Notre Dame from a rankings perspective. But they've been to Georgia a lot, so I think that was like part of the reasoning. And this is still a big game, Notre Dame Pitt. But want to close the show talking about Brian Daboll. He gets fired as New York Football Giants head coach. And, I mean, what has marred his tenure as head coach more than anything is his offense as an offensive guy not being the greatest. And then this season, with an offense that's better, losing these games, you're up 20. Your opponent has 0 points going into the fourth quarter, and you allow them to score 33 points in the fourth quarter. I don't care who you're playing. That is inexcusable. You're up 2 scores on the Bears with 4 minutes left in the game, and you can't hold on. Like that's a huge issue that falls squarely on the coaching. And you can say, the players, you should score there, but that falls on the coaching when it happens over and over again. And there's been other instances as well throughout but these are just some egregious late game managing situations that have been very abysmal. So, I mean, Brian Daboll gets fired. I like Brian Daboll. I think he's a good coach, but you just can't have these losses piling up. Your team could easily be 5-5 or even better. There's at least 3 games that you were in pole position to win. You just had to take care of business for the remaining fourth quarter or even less. It's like 5 minutes, and you're not able to do that at all. So that's why you get fired. Yeah, I feel bad for Brian Daboll. I think he's a good good coach, good offensive coach, but he'll probably be a coordinator somewhere. I don't think he'll get a head coaching job, but that'll do for the Sports Coop today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I'll be back same time next week talking about Pitt, Notre Dame, and much more. Sports Coop with Nathan Schivins, WPPJ 670 AM.